Sign it now, Priya. The bakery is Naveen's. You don't get to keep a single dollar of it. My father dropped a stapled printout on my kitchen counter, his knuckles white against the paper. My mother's voice cut in, flat and cruel. Naveen has a wife and a baby coming. What do you have? A hobby that got lucky. This was always meant to go to him. 2 hours earlier, my uncle Devraj, dying of pancreatic cancer, in a hospice bed 40 minutes from my apartment, had pressed a folded lottery ticket into my hand and told me to cash it quietly. I'd won $210,000 on a scratch-off he'd asked me to buy for him a week before. I didn't argue with my parents. I smiled, took the pen, and signed. I slid the paper back across the counter with both hands, like a good daughter. They were already toasting with sparkling cider when my father's phone rang. He answered smiling. The voice on the other end asked one simple question, and his face went the color of the countertop. My name is Meera Anand. I'm 33, and to understand what my father heard on that call, you have to understand a man who isn't with us anymore. My uncle Devraj was my father's older brother, 61 years old, and for the last 5 years of his life, I was the only family member who visited him regularly. Not my father, his own sibling, not my mother, not my brother Naveen. Just me. Every other Saturday, 40 minutes each way to Willowbrook Hospice outside Trenton. The nurses knew my order at the coffee cart before they knew my last name. Devraj had raised me for 2 years when I was 9, after my parents sent me to live with him during what they called a rough patch, which I later understood meant my father's second bankruptcy filing. Devraj never married, ran a small print shop his whole life, and never once made me feel like a burden. When he was diagnosed, my parents visited twice in the first month, then stopped almost entirely. I kept going. I brought him crossword books and orange slices, because that's what he liked. My parents had a name for me they used, long before I understood what it cost: responsible. It started when I was 7, and Naveen, 4 years younger, and golden in every family photo, broke our grandmother's ceramic elephant reaching for a toy. My mother didn't scold him. She looked at me and asked why I hadn't been watching him. I apologized. That became the pattern. When Naveen failed out of 2 colleges, I was the one who covered his rent so my parents wouldn't have to explain it to relatives. When he opened a food truck in 2022 that folded within 4 months, I was the one who'd quietly wired him $9,000, money I never saw again, and never heard mentioned. Built stronger, my mother called it, meaning built to pay. In the spring, my parents stopped visiting Devraj, almost entirely. I noticed because Willowbrook keeps a sign-in log at the front desk, a simple binder. One Saturday, waiting on a form, I flipped back through the pages. My name, over and over. My father's signature, last dated 14 months earlier. My mother had never signed at all. Naveen's name appeared exactly once. That same visit, Devraj handed me 2 bank statements, folded into a paperback mystery novel. 2 withdrawals, $8,000 each, cash, from his account, signed with a signature that wasn't quite his. He asked me not to call anyone yet, just to keep the statements somewhere safe. I didn't ask why. I already half knew, the way you know a diagnosis before the doctor says it out loud. 8 days before everything happened, the hospice director called me at 6 in the morning. Come now, she said. Devraj was having a lucid morning, rare by then, and when I arrived he had me close the door and sit down. He handed me a small digital recorder, wrapped in a handkerchief. I've been recording things, he said, for 4 years. Every time your parents visited and thought I was too far gone to notice what they were doing, he told me there was one file, 90 minutes long, and that I should listen alone, not at my parents' house, not at his bedside. I listened in my car in the hospice parking lot as the sun went down. His voice, steadier than I'd heard it in a year. He listed the withdrawals, 11 of them over 3 years, $62,000 total, each one made by my father presenting a signed slip while Devraj was too sedated to protest, and a teller who never checked identification twice. He described my mother going through his safety deposit box during a visit in 2024, believing him asleep, and 2 gold coins that disappeared from it that same week. He described Naveen visiting once, in 2023, with a homemade power of attorney form from a legal website, asking Devraj to sign over the print shop before it was even sold. Devraj had refused and told the front desk to keep the hallway camera running on future visits, especially family ones. Then came the sentence that undid me. "I let them think I didn't know, Meera," he said, "because I know how they'll come at you the moment I'm gone, and I know you'd start giving before you ever thought to fight. This way, when I hand this to you, you'll have the whole truth at once, and you'll know exactly what to do." The week after that recording was the quietest of my life. I met with a compliance officer at the state lottery office, on an unrelated pretext, just to understand affidavit procedures for high-value claims involving named family members. I met a notary I'd worked alongside years earlier as a home health aide, a woman named Odalis, and asked her to be ready to come to my apartment on short notice. We ran through the process once, using a test form, so there would be no fumbling when it mattered. Devraj died on a Tuesday morning, quietly, before I could get there. 2 days later, at his memorial, my father pulled me aside and told me, almost gently, that the print shop would obviously go to Naveen, since Devraj surely would have wanted family continuity. I said nothing. I already knew from Devraj's will, drawn up in 2020 and never changed, that the shop and its modest savings were left entirely to me. I also knew my father didn't know that yet. The following Saturday, I bought a scratch-off ticket on my own, on impulse, the way Devraj used to ask me to buy his. It matched 5 numbers, $210,000. I called Odalis immediately. She arrived within the hour with her notary kit, and we filed the winner's affidavit of sole ownership through the state portal that same afternoon, naming, per the courtesy notification section, both my parents and my brother as parties, with no claim to any portion of the winnings. The confirmation email landed at 1:04 in the afternoon. At 1:20, my parents arrived unannounced, my father carrying a bottle of sparkling cider and a stapled printout he called a family distribution agreement, drawn from a template site, naming Naveen as sole beneficiary of the winnings, and, apparently, of Devraj's estate as well, with a blank signature line waiting for me. I read it. I said nothing about what I'd already filed. I took my father's pen and signed every page, neat and unhurried, and slid it back to him with both hands. "That's my girl," he said, and poured 3 glasses. Just as his glass reached mine, his phone rang. "An unknown number," he answered on speaker, still smiling. "This is Compliance Officer Renata Kwan from the State Lottery Office," the voice said calmly. "I'm making a courtesy call regarding a sole ownership affidavit filed this afternoon under Meera Anand's name. You're listed as a party with no claim to the winnings. I need to ask directly, sir, do you dispute her ownership? I have you on record now." My father's smile stopped moving. He asked her to repeat herself. She did, twice, using the words sole ownership each time. He set the phone down slowly next to the printout he'd brought, the one with no notary seal, no case number, no state letterhead, just a template logo someone had clearly built in an afternoon. "Meera," he said, "what did you sign?" "The real one," I told him, "half an hour before you got here." My mother grabbed the printout, flipped through it, and understood. "The way you understand a house has burned down only after realizing you left the door unlocked yourself. You lied to us," she said, her voice losing its edge. I said, "I learned from someone patient." The wine glass slipped from my father's hand and broke on the tile. He didn't pick up the phone again. He and my mother left without another word, leaving the folder and 2 full glasses behind. I swept up the glass myself and didn't cry. Naveen came by 2 days later with his wife, asking why I'd, in his words, humiliated the family over money I didn't even need. I let him talk. I didn't mention that Devraj's actual will already left him nothing beyond a small keepsake, a printing block Devraj had used for their father's old business cards, or that Devraj had chosen that on purpose, to see what Naveen would do once he believed there was more coming. The state's Adult Protective Services Division opened a case the following month, using Devraj's recording, the bank statements, and the hospice's own incident logs as evidence. My parents were offered restitution, instead of criminal charges, $62,000, repaid through a loan against their house. I didn't keep the check. I signed it directly to Willowbrook Hospice, earmarked for a reading room in Devraj's name. I moved the print shop's old composing stone and a few of his tools into my apartment. Some evenings I still drive past Willowbrook, just to sit in the lot with coffee and say his name out loud. He waited years to be heard, and made sure I'd never have to wait that long myself. If you've ever been the one your family called responsible instead of loved, tell me what word they used for you. I'll be reading every answer.